So in this tutorial, I'm going to cover some of the basics on rotational control of the kite. So by rotation, I mean if we are doing a circle, or doing a little spin, or doing kind of a flat spin. So let me show you what those examples look like first of all. So here's a circle, and then here's a spin. It's a little smaller, right? And then here's the flat rotation, which is almost in place. So there's a couple of principles at work here. So one is that, and there's some variables, but the base principle is that essentially when the kite is traveling and you want to create the upward half of your circle, there's a slight increase in the draw or tension of the lines. It's not a sudden explosion or acceleration. You simply ramp up or increase that line tension because the kite is going up. You need more power to overcome gravity and its natural desire to stall. Now, the caveat is that once the kite has gone all the way through the rotation and you hit this point, as soon as the nose starts to incline downward, and as to say that the spine is beginning to point in that downward direction, if you continue adding that pressure, indoor kites have a tendency to turn very wide, and so what likely happens is that you won't quite make the rotation, and it's actually going to strike the ground. So, in addition to adding pressure and draw when the kite's going up, as soon as it gets here, almost to the same scale or ratio, you're actually going to slack out your line slightly, or reduce tension through the bottom half of that turn until once again you reach an upward stroke. So let me show you that in application here, and you'll see some of what I'm talking about. Here we go. So you'll see the added draw to go up, and then I slack out at the bottom and recapture my pressure once I finish my rotation. So here we go. We'll draw up, slack out, and recapture. So the other way. So add pressure to go up, slack out a little, and then recapture. And the same dynamic applies whether you're doing little ones. So again, draw, slack. Draw, slack. Draw, slack. Okay? And then there's a little bit more kind of technique to getting the really small ones like that. But it's actually a very similar dynamic. There it goes. That almost gets into what we call the axle, but we will save that particular detail for another tutorial. So once more, add pressure, relax a little bit, and lock it in off. There we go. Add pressure, slack out a little, and then capture it again to restart flight. Now let me give you one more detailed example of that. Let's see if we can do a little bit of blooper footage here for you. So again, if I keep power, I'm going to turn all the way through. Here it goes. See, I don't quite get the smooth rotation at the bottom. I'm going to use a different example actually. Here we go. So if I'm flying directly at the ground, here we go, and I add power. It's not very, how to say, it's not real control. It tends to be a little volatile. But instead, if I fly at the ground, make my turn and slack, you can see the kite rotates almost on point. Just like that. Slack on point. Slack on point. The other way to describe that is flaring the nose. So when the kite is flying down, that's the nose flare, which is the very beginning of a pancake, right? Flaring the nose. So the idea essentially, bottom line is that when the nose is pointing down, in order to get a small rotation, you want at least a slight amount of flare. And then when the kite is going up, it'll almost be full face and adding power. So that's the basic topical on rotation indoors. Thank you again. We'll see you in the next tutorial.